Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another night of Talks About Stuff for probably far too long. I'm That's all this in the background. Tonight we're going to be talking about There Is No Antimemetics Division by QNTM. This is the latest book club book. I just finished it the other day, so I'm going to talk about it for a little bit, and then this will be posted on Wednesday. If you are interested in joining the book club, I'll put a link to it in the description. Just make an account, join the community. I have a set of rules. You can just read through those real quick and then just post to let me know that you're there. Yeah, I have a whole other video with step-by-step instructions, but that's basically it. All right. There is no Antimemetics Division. So unlike the previous novel that we read, which was like an actual novel, this is more a collection of short stories in the shape of like an overarching novel. It's difficult to describe it, but essentially each section or each chapter is like its own short story. So it starts off with just an SCP entry for in this universe, it's not the SCP Foundation, it's the Unknown Organization. So it starts off with U0055. U0055. U0055 is a kind of shape. It's an anti-meme. As soon as you stop looking at it, you forget exactly what it is. It's not a sphere. It is something. You can't really like place it. The way that this shows up as like the prologue of the novel, I was really afraid that U0055 was going to be like a wild card, a Deus Ex Machina. It doesn't end up being that. It does end up like tying into the story. It is entwined with our main character, who we'll get to in a minute, and then the person that ends the novel. It's connected to both of them, but it's not a Deus Ex. It's not a wild card. Kind of a wild card. The organization doesn't know how they received it. They don't know where it came from. They don't really know anything about it. Induction is the first like real story that we get. It is the introduction of Antimemetics Division Chief Marie Quinn. I like it as a scenario for introducing Marie Quinn. It's very cool, but it's a short story. It's not like a chapter. But the idea is that one of the executives in the suite, C-suite executives, I think, one of the executives has forgotten that the Antimemetics Division exists, hence the title. There is no Antimemetics Division. Anti-memes are unknown entities that make you forget about them as soon as you stop thinking about them. And so the Antimemetic Division is constantly being forgotten about. Their people are taking nestics, which keep their memory intact, even if they have an amnesiac experience. It's supposed to help them keep their memory of the unknowns that they come into contact with and their work at the Unknown Organization. This sets up Marie, and Marie has a familiar unknown that kind of follows around behind her. It can act independently of her. It's like a witch's familiar. It can do things. If you ever read, what's it called? The Golden Compass. The Golden Compass, they have demons that sit on their shoulder, and the demons can go and like snatch things, or they can go and do things independent of the people that they're connected to. Lyra has, I forget what hers turns into, but she has a shape-shifting demon. It hasn't been set in stone yet. And so it can go and do stuff for her. Marie Quinn has one of those. It's the unknown that you can't remember. There is a character introduced called Levine. He is the the assistant to the executive, he is convinced that Marie is a spy and he wants to shoot her. This story moves very fast. It's kind of good. It gets you right into the action, but it also feels very young adult. There's not a whole lot of like setting up, and then he pulls out the gun, and that's, oh, what's happened here? It's very much, she comes down, she starts talking to the executive, and then he pulls out the gun. So the pacing is very fast because of the short story structure. Levine is trying to convince the executive that Marie is a spy. He wants to execute her. Marie has to reintroduce the idea of antimemetics to the executive, and then kind of prove who she is to him. And she's like, we've met before. We've done this before. I've taught you all of this stuff before. So it's kind of a really cool, like, just introduction to the antimemetics concepts, to Marie as a character, and a little bit to the bureaucracy of the unknown organization. Introductory antimemetics. The way that this story lies to the reader kind of bothers me. I've read a lot of postmodern books. A lot of times there's a lot of lying to the reader, but that lying comes from the characters, or it comes from the setup for the writing, or it comes from genre expectations. And this story just straight up lies to the reader. So we're introduced to a character. Let me look up his name real quick. So we're introduced to Junior Researcher Lee. The story, or the chapter, it says he's been working for the UO for all of 4 hours. We later learn that that's not true. We learn that he's been there for much longer than 4 hours. But he himself is experiencing the idea that he's only worked there for 4 hours, because the rest of it has been anti-memed. It's been erased from his memory. But the story doesn't like play with that concept. It doesn't play with him being affected by the UO. It just straight up lies to the reader and says he has only been here for 4 hours. So that kind of bothered me at the beginning of the story. The pacing is also a bit funky here. Lee is in a hurry to escape from this unknown that he's come into contact with. He runs down an elevator, or he takes the elevator down. He runs into this lab. He is desperately reading through this SCP entry, the UO entry, looking for something to like help him figure out how to defeat this entity, this unknown that he's come into contact with. And then he has just like so much time to read. He has so much time to set up the lab. It's coming for him any second now, but he apparently has a bunch of time to do all of this stuff. The pacing in universe is a little bit funky here. I like the idea of the unknown, UO or U7175 Gauge. I like the idea of it as a creature. It's a memory eater. It comes through and it devours people, and it devours the memory of those people. And so that's how it sustains itself. I like that idea. And I think that the story is like a decent exploration of that. It's just the framing of the story and ultimately the pacing of the story that's kind of unsatisfying for me. Yeah, I just like more like setup and payoff. I wrote my thesis paper on Kurt Vonnegut in my master's program. Kurt Vonnegut is notorious for like, here's where I want my story to go. Like, I want to set this up. I want to pay this off. I want to set this up. I want to pay this off. Kurt Vonnegut was very much a like joke teller. So I want to get the setup there, and then I want to do the punchline. And in his later novels, he's like, I want to do the punchline 300 times. So I'll do the setup once, and then I'll do the punchline 300 times. But I like that more than the and then somebody pulled out a gun, just as a pacing thing. The next chapter is Unforgettable, That's What You Are, and I like this story a lot. This is my favorite of the first section. We're introduced to a previous Antimemetics head, Andy. Andy knows Marie. He knew her when she was a junior agent at the UO. He is the founder of this version of the Antimemetics Division. He does have like an idea. He has put together this, he's reconstructed the fact that there have been previous Antimemetics divisions, but he is the founder of this one. He suspects that like all through history, there have been people discovering antimemetics, forming divisions, and then having all of the memory wiped out of those divisions. And so it's constantly like reforming naturally and then getting erased from memory, which is like, that's the horror that I like, is that how many times has that cycle happened? We're introduced to the primary antagonist in this one. Let me look up the number real quick. So in this chapter, we're introduced to an unknown called later named as U3125. 3125 is the recurring antagonist. It pops out of Andy's eye once he remembers what it is. It is not really like its true form isn't described in this chapter, but it is set up in, or it is explored in the third section of the book, which we will get to. But it pops out of Andy's eye once he remembers it in the form of a bunch of spiders that form a kind of spider skyscraper. And it's an anti-meme. So remembering it summons it. And then once you can't see it anymore, it like is wiped from your memory. So Quinn needs Andy to remember something. He's had this knowledge inside of his head for so long. She gives him an anti-aging serum to like take himself back in time to how old he was when he was going through his first tussle with 3125. And then the knowledge that she uncovers through this anti-aging serum, it like causes 3125 to manifest itself within Andy. And that causes this like spider skyscraper to burst out of his eyeball. Terrifying. Yeah, that's the body horror. It's all the stuff that you like to see from SCP entries. Very cool setup, very cool concept. There's something at the end. There's like an afterword to the whole scenario where Marie is in her office at the Antimemetics Division. And they've made like a mural of memory holes on the wall. People are disappearing from the Antimemetics Division. It used to be like a couple thousand, and now it's reduced to like 200. And we'll see this in further stories in the novel, where it goes down from 200, then it goes down to 100, then it goes down to 30. It's a recurring thing where it's like counting down the people who are working for the Antimemetic Division. And I appreciated that one as well, because it gave you like a creeping dread of like, what's happening to all these people, and what are we going to do when there are no more of them? The Ones Who Walk Very Slowly. This is another one that's written in the form of like an unknown entry. It is about these giant creatures that live by an island, and once you like stop seeing them, they have the anti-meme effect where you don't even like realize that you've seen them. You just memory hole them. Um, they have a natural immunity to being observed, and they're very fragile. So when one of the unknown organization researchers tries to take a picture of one, the taking the picture of it and the capturing of its image kills it immediately. So very fragile piece of the environment who have evolved these natural anti-memes. Cool concept. I thought that it was really sad. It reminds me of just like the damage that we're doing to the ocean and the creatures that we are like sacrificing as part of global warming and global climate change, and just the stuff that we've done through pollution and uh, the way that humans have terraformed Earth into something that's unlivable for some of the natural species here. Uh, it's very ecological, just ecology minded. And I wasn't sure if like it was setting up another part of the story or if it was just a short story. It does set up a couple different parts of the third section. So we will come back to it then. But just as its own standalone thing, I thought it was really sad. All right, so that is everything in section 1 of the novel. Section 2 starts off with Immemorial. Um, this one and then Where Have You Been All My Life? Those are the two at the start of section 2. Really like the short story format as chapter really shows its weakness in these two stories. So we've got another unknown agent. Her name is Morgan. And she realizes that behind UO Wiley, which is where Marie Quinn works, there is a massive stone. It's a memorial to people who have died in anti-meme wars. And she's never noticed it before, and it's massive. It's got its own staircase. It's you could not miss it unless it had anti-meme properties. And she takes her Nestix for the first time, the thing that makes her keep her memories, and she can suddenly see it. And she's like, how have I never seen this before? So her and Marie walk up to the top of this monument in the rain, which is it's a choice. So Marie is trying to get Morgan to remember, or not to remember, but to piece together information about the antimemetic wars of the past. And Morgan is shown as being like smart enough to put all the pieces together that Marie's laying down for her and get into the answer before Marie is ready for her to. But at the end of the chapter, Morgan looks out into the rain and sees this spider skyscraper creature that we were introduced to in part 1. And this thing comes up to the monument and it kills Morgan, and it tells Marie that it hates her and that it is going to destroy her as well. Marie runs away from it. And as soon as she is like clear of it, she forgets it. She forgets all about the memorial. She forgets all about Morgan. She forgets all about this creature. We have all that knowledge, but Marie no longer does. It's set up here that she is going to talk to U2200. I think that probably the chapter Quinn's God, which comes later in this section, was the next chapter here. For some reason, it got moved around, and I'm not sure why. The placement of Quinn's God in this section, strange. But the next actual story is Where Have You Been All My Life? This one, I think, is supposed to be kind of sad and tragic. But it's that short story structure. Throughout the first section, Marie has mentioned that she has a husband. She's married now. She used to be Marie Sheridan. Now she's Marie Quinn. She's married to a man named Adam, but we don't get to meet him until this story. And we don't get to meet him until after Marie has forgotten who he is. Adam realizes that the unknown that follows Marie around, that they call Sunshine, which we get that information in this chapter, Sunshine has eaten her memories of him. It's not stated like why in the chapter. Marie pieces together that Sunshine is trying to protect either herself or Adam from whatever entity they're fighting. Adam has pieced together that they are in the middle of an anti-memetic war, but he doesn't know anything about the anti-memes aside from his own experiences, which was what introduced him to Marie in the first place. But he does not have any unknown organization clearance. He doesn't have any way of like knowing or contextualizing what an unknown is or what an anti-meme is or any of that stuff. He knows that there are creatures with anti-memetic properties. He knows that Marie's job is dangerous, but he does not know what she's experiencing. And then she forgets about him. Sunshine eats her memory of him. And so she pieces together that Sunshine is trying to either protect him or protect her. And so she sends him off. She wipes his memory. She wipes her own memory of him. And then she strikes him from the record. So everybody in the Antimemetics Division no longer knows who he is. There's no record of him. There's no possible way that she will ever find him again. Except she is confident that she's going to somehow find him. Once this war is over, she's going to find him just through tracing the missing pieces of her past. This becomes kind of a recurring thing throughout the late first part and up to the middle sections of Antimemetics Division, where Marie is just like piecing together different things, and it seems like she's never wrong. She's piecing together, okay, this is what I would have done in this situation, therefore that's what it is. This is what Adam would have done in this situation, therefore that's what it is. And it kind of gets annoying because it's a pattern throughout the end of the first section and the up to the middle of the second section. Case Colorless Green and your last first day. Case Colorless Green is a story about Quinn receiving a notice of a UO that she has a weekly commitment to go see. She goes into this pod where it is hermetically sealed from everything else. She gets Lee from the first section. What was it? Introductory Antimemetics. She gets him to sit out in the hallway and wait for her. She goes into this hermetically sealed room, this memetically sealed room probably, and she realizes that she has been fighting a war against 3125 for a long time, it seems, and it seems like she's losing. This contradicts what we were just told in the last chapter when Adam said, I know that you're going to win this soon. But apparently between erasing him from her life and getting to this point, she has realized that there's no hope for her. So she is in this memetically sealed room. She remembers what this thing is. She knows that she has no possible chance of stopping it. She takes a strong nestic so that she can smuggle the information out of the room. And then as soon as she gets out into the hallway, Lee, the researcher, tries to kill her. She realizes that he has been affected by this anti-meme, 3125. And she can no longer trust anybody. Your last first day is a direct continuation of the story. She runs to the armory. She finds a large laser alien gun thing that it's described as being like a yardstick with two prongs at the end, and she is using it as like a walking stick. She makes her way to the pharmacy where she takes a super drug to make her remember everything. And then she knows that she has a plan somewhere in the bottom of UO Wiley. She takes the elevator down to this other memetically sealed place. She goes in. She's expecting that past her has created a super weapon that she can use against 3125. The entire time that this is happening, every other agent at UO Wiley is like becoming an enemy. It's like a zombie movie or a Lovecraftian movie where everybody is suddenly becoming your enemy. That's what's happening here. Just the existential terror of like everybody you know turning against you. She gets down into this place where she was expecting to find the super weapon. And all that's there is a memetic bomb, something to wipe her memory. And she uses that. This was set up in Unforgettable, That's What You Are, that the organization has this thing. She sets it off. It wipes the memory of everybody in the UO Wiley area. And that's where the chapter ends. And that's where we leave Marie Quinn. The next chapter is Quinn's God. And this is another SCP type entry where Quinn comes to talk to a unknown that claims it is the god of forgetting how to ride a bicycle. Why is this here? Right? Why that placement? Why that chapter placement? The god of the god of forgetting how to ride a bicycle says, you should take a vacation. You should go to some islands. You should bathe naked under a waterfall. You should have some martinis. Just forget about yourself for like a month. And Marie Quinn is like, I can't do that. I'm always working. There's always some type of earth threatening entity that I've got to deal with. I am always putting out fires. That is my lot in life. I cannot take a month-long vacation. The important thing about this entry is that the god of forgetting how to ride a bicycle is he trusts Adam. He says, Adam, you know that he can piece things together. He's smart enough to do it. You two are on the same wavelength. You two have like this compatibility unlike anything I've ever seen. You can trust Adam. Go home and make love to him and then just forget all about all of this. Just take the day, go home, be with your husband. Do not think about me. Do not think about any of this. And that's where it ends. It's fun that it's a joke. It's also coming at like the worst possible time. Why is this not like further up before we leave Marie? Why is this down here? I think that the point of this chapter is just to tell us as the audience, you can trust Adam. Adam Quinn, he gets the job done. But the placement in this section is bizarre. The last story in this section is Ojai. Ojai is a different unknown organization like base. It's one of the memetic agents from UO Ojai. That's a weird. UO Ojai comes to a house where there is somebody live streaming a memetic event. This person is nicknamed Red. Red is trying to create a meme that he can pass through streaming services to unwitting participants in order to like spread this meme disease. The agent from UO Ojai shows up. He restrains Red, and then he starts using memetic defense techniques to kind of draw this meme out of Red. It doesn't work. There's a twist here, as there are in most of these chapters, where the agent from UO Ojai had a partner, and he's forgotten completely about having a partner on this mission. So Red asks him, what happened to your partner? And he's like, I never had a partner. Red, he turns around to like look for his partner. He's looking into the hallway. And when he turns back, Red is standing there. He's completely in control. He has the deadlights from Stephen King's It like inside of him. And then he infects this agent from the UO Ojai office. So I want to go through this. In Memorial, we're introduced to Morgan. Morgan immediately gets killed off. Where Have You Been All My Life? We get our proper introduction for Adam. Adam is immediately written out of the story. Ojai, we get introduced to this agent from UO Ojai. And then at the end of the story, he's taken over by this red entity. There are other story formats that you can use other than we get introduced to somebody and then they immediately die. Just saying. Red and U3125 are somehow connected to each other. Red spreads the meme, which brings U3125 into our reality. And then U3125, through its anti-meme properties, makes everybody immediately forget what they're doing. It's a yin and yang kind of thing where it needs red to spread it, but then once it spreads, it immediately erases knowledge of itself. It's back to back. All right, so that finishes off the second section of the novel. The third section of the novel, much more cohesive as a set of like chapters. We start off with Adam Quinn. Adam is on tour. He has kind of noticed that weird things are happening around him, but he has also elected not to think about it. The first chapter is Case Hate Red. He is on tour with a symphony. He is a violinist. He is playing in the middle of a concert, and all of a sudden the audience and the rest of the symphony stops. They realize that he has not been assimilated. He realizes that everybody is staring at him and that he needs to get out of Dodge. This whole time there have been these black squares that have been appearing. He has seen videos of them on like Instagram or TikTok of people like drawing these black squares on the wall, and then something happens at the end of them, but he can never remember what happens at the end of them. And these black squares have summoned forth 3125. He is in the middle of a what's the story? Shadow over Innsmouth situation where he is the only human. Everybody around him has been taken over by 3125. And so he runs. He is in this post-apocalyptic situation. He runs away. He is making his way north. He is assaulted by a bunch of these people who mutilate one of his hands so he can never play the violin again. And upon stopping at a school, he finds the unknown that was following Marie around, the one that they call Sunshine. This unknown bonds with him. He realizes that it wants him to go to the library and feed it. So he goes to the library, he reads through a book. As he's reading through it, this unknown is just eating all of the memories that he's creating. So he gets to the end of the reading, he closes the book, he doesn't remember a single thing about it. He realizes that this unknown was starving and that he is the thing keeping it alive, kind of. The two of them are... they bond, kind of. He can't understand what it is. He can just kind of make out that it wants him to go somewhere. And so he's following it. And it leads him to UO Wiley, the same place that Marie worked at, where she died, and where the place, the bunker that she was at before she died is. He makes his way down. He finds her, but he can't remember her. He knows that they loved each other at one point, but he doesn't feel anything for her as she is now. And that really disturbs him. That's like, I lived a life with you and I don't remember any of it. But he's smart enough to kind of put together that she had a plan. There's something that he can probably find. He wants to go and see it through. He's not optimistic about what this plan is, but he believes that, like, I just want to see it through. If it doesn't work out, I'll just die. I'll just give myself over to the thing. I'll walk into 3125 is creating these like large sarcophaguses in the middle of cities. And people go in, and when they come out, they're transformed into these Lovecraftian husks of people that just follow along with whatever 3125 wants. And so he is like, I'll see this through. I'll go to the end of the line. I'll find out what is there. And if it's nothing, I'll just die. So he goes to leave, and he is assaulted by Red from the Ojai chapter. Red is like, I've been tracking you for 3 days. How did you like disappear? What are you doing? And Adam is not a soldier. He's like, can you just let me go? Like, we don't have to do any of this. And Red threatens him. He's like, you're just useless like all the other humans. And Adam lifts the gun that Marie had, the 2-pronged like yardstick, and shoots Red dead. Before he can do that, Red launches a power blast at Adam, and Marie's familiar, the unknown that sat on her shoulder and ate her memories, the one that bonded with Adam, jumps between them and takes the blast, saving Adam. And so it sacrifices itself so that Adam can continue the journey. Adam shoots Red dead. It is here that the novel like jumps backwards in time several years. We get to meet Ed Hicks. Ed Hicks has been mentioned a few times previously in the novel. He was a memetic genius. He knows how to do containment better than anyone else in the entire world, and he went missing at some point. That's basically what we know about him before we're introduced to him. So it jumps back in time. Ed has made the choice that he is going to seal himself into the bottom of this unknown organization bunker. He has like a bunch of researchers that he's gathered, he's recruited. They're going to figure out how to beat 3125. Before he can do that, he puts on a starfish type head mask that is supposed to wipe out his memories so that nobody knows what the plan is. But one of the people that's in the bunker with them is infected by U3125, shoots Ed Hicks in the chest. His body is killed, but this starfish thing, this tentacle like creature that absorbs Ed Hicks's memories, it disconnects, goes and finds him a spare body, connects to the spare body, and then it acts as the researcher. It goes through and it does all of the different possibilities in order to try to either contain or eradicate U3125. If we had had like a more traditionally structured novel, this would have been a great like setup and payoff, because we could have had the Ed Hicks in section 1 get to meet him, and then he gets shot in the chest, and we're like, well, shit, he can't make a machine anymore. Like, what are they going to do now? And then in Part 3, we get introduced to this tentacle creature that ate Ed Hicks's memories and then transferred his memories into the spare body. This is kind of like the weakness of using short stories as chapters, is that you can't set something up in part 1 and then pay it off in part 3 in that way. You can't build that tension in the way that like splitting the events across time could do. We could have gotten introduced to Ed Hicks and Mallow and Marie Quinn and all of this, like in this one meeting that's so important to the story and takes place earliest in the timeline. In section 1, we could have gotten that introduction to them. And then like the next chapter, gotten it that Marie has this familiar, and this person is trying to kill Marie through Mallow. We could have gotten that set up and been like, oh, I understand what's happening here. Whatever this creature from the past is that they were talking about, that's what's trying to kill Marie. But instead, we've inverted the introduction and payoff system so that this first chronologically comes at the end of the novel. I wish that the overarching like timeline was more traditional, so that we could get that like experience. Adam continues his journey. He finds the Ed Hicks that is the replacement of the original Ed Hicks. Ed Hicks has been working all this time to try to figure out a way to either contain or eradicate 3125. Unfortunately, he says that he needs Marie to do it. Adam can't do it. Adam doesn't have the seeds of the idea that he needs, but he can use Adam's memory of Marie. So he gives him a very powerful agent drug with a Z-class drug that causes Marie, her memory, to actualize. Marie is resurrected momentarily through Adam's memory of her because he knew her so well. But then, because it's a very powerful Z-class drug, Adam is just like, he's only got a few minutes to live. So Adam sees Marie one last time. He gets to remember everything that he did with her. He gets that, that, I don't want to say satisfaction, but he gets that moment of like, oh, that's where you are. That's where you've been. That's what you mean to me. And then Marie becomes the seed, which goes out into the like meta universe and counters this 3125 meta-memetic, anti-memetic entity from beyond the cosmos. And she becomes like the there was a podcast. It was the resonance and the anti-resonance. Was it Within the Wires? I don't think it was Within the Wires. There was the resonance and the anti-resonance. She becomes the anti-resonance for 3125. She like banishes it from existence. She shrinks it down to nothingness and then pops it out of existence. And then she just gets out of Dodge. She does not want to be around. She does not want to affect humanity the same way that 3125 did. So she goes somewhere in this meta landscape. We have an epilogue. In the epilogue, there are the creatures from The Ones Who Walk Slowly. These creatures are cleaning up the world by eating the spiders the size of skyscrapers. Mallow, the executive from the first section, and from Wild Lights in the third section where we got introduced to Hicks. Mallow, this executive, realizes that there's been an anti-memetic war, that the Antimemetics Division has been destroyed, that there are just countless people missing and nobody remembers them, and cities are like restructuring themselves because there's something in the middle of these cities that people don't want to be around, even though they can't, like, there are these structures in the middle of cities that people can't even like perceive, but they don't want to be around them. They can like sense that there's something bad there. And so they're like restructuring themselves in order to avoid these parts of the city. Um, and he realizes through the like the black holes in the map that something has happened. And he knows that there has been an anti-memetics war in the past, and he knows that there is an anti-memetics war now. And he's like, what can the organization do? How do we get better? How do we stop this from happening in the future? So a lot of like terrifying ideas. The structure of the microstructure and the effects that that has on the structure as a whole. That's my big complaint about the book. It's just that like I can see where like I would have done this introduction, this setup, and then the payoff over here. And it kind of frustrates me that it's not that way. I am glad that U0055 was not like a ghost in the machine. I'm glad that it was not the Deus Ex Machina. I'm glad that Adam and Marie, through like their love and their respect for each other and their knowledge of each other, and just trusting in each other, I'm glad that that is what led to the defeat of 3125. There's a lot of good ideas, a lot of big ideas, a lot of terrifying ideas, and I really like them. It's just the like moment to moment structure that annoyed me about this one. And then the lie in introductory antimemetics, that one could have been rewritten. But yeah, those are my thoughts so far. Let me know if you guys have read this book. What did you think about it? Did you have the same complaints? Did you have things that you saw that could have been better? Did you enjoy the ideas? All that stuff. If you would like to join the book club, I'll leave a link down in the description. Please join. Right now it's only me and one other person, and I'm the only one posting, so it's really just me. Yeah. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining me for another night of talking about stuff for probably far too long. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Good night.